To admit that we have purpose in this world is to come into agreement with the weight of reality. We have bought into a fraudulent lie that has told us that we have come to earth to perish rather than come to earth to experience the true life we are first given. I don't know if this will make sense. I hope it will click for at least a few, but most will probably look at me like I'm crazy. You were made for a purpose, and to admit that is one of the hardest things, because then you have to also admit that if you're not living for that purpose, you're doing something wrong. Why I say that is because many proclaim their purpose is to do good in this world, or to become the best version of themselves, or to become a professional athlete. This, that, and so forth are all temporary purposes, more so showing that it's not purpose at all. Because if a purpose is temporary, then there's no weight to it. It's easy to follow a purpose that is temporary because it will fade just like your body will. It will fade just like this earth will one day. But if we are willing to acknowledge that we actually have a purpose, then we have to rationalize the weight of what that purpose might be. I believe that our purpose as human beings is love. But there has been a perpetual deceit to our minds and souls that tell us that we are made to live for ourselves, which makes no sense because the selves that we live for will die. You were made for something more than this life. And why I believe so many people decide to live their life with an addictions of drug, alcohol, sex, you name it, whatever it is because they then don't have to admit that or humble themselves to the truth that they're letting a master tell them what to do without them having to submit to it. So, to acknowledge purpose, you have to be able to humble yourself to realize that you have to do something. But when we drown our sorrows and deceive ourselves from reality, which reality is purpose, with things like drugs, alcohol, sex, you name it, anything, social media, we then do not have to feel the weight of humbling ourselves because these things humble us to them instead of to our purpose. They humble us into deceit, into a cloud of deceit that blinds us from truth rather than humbling us to truth, rather than humbling us to reality, rather than humbling us to true purpose. The reason that these things are why so many people are susceptible to following the ways of death, because all of these things lead to death in some sort of format. All of these things poison our physical and spiritual bodies. It's because we're not willing to humble ourselves to the weight of our lives. We would rather lie to ourselves and say that we have no purpose, no true purpose. We tell ourselves we have purpose, but it's a temporal purpose where we were made for an eternal one. This is what's different about what is talked about in the Bible. Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6. It says that through him we have eternal life. And I think as we watch everything around us fade, it intrigues me how something within us seems to pass time, to withstand time. And that thing is love. something within us, our beings, something written in our hearts, something deeper than our own thoughts. It surpasses all understanding. It's love. It's something that was written in us. That is our purpose on this earth. For some reason, we don't fall into the productivity of the rest of the world by natural selection. We actually desire to love each other. We actually desire to pursue each other fully in servanthood. And it intrigues me because if we were just like every other being, then we would not want to help each other, love each other, hold each other, serve each other. We would just use each other. And I can't justify why sometimes people do use other people, but I do know, actually, I do know why that is. It's because they love themselves. They love the temporal self more than they love the true reality of eternity. It's because they haven't been taught that they are made for more. So all they know, all they do is for love of self instead of love of love. If you look at every single thing that you do, every single thing that I do, every single thing that humanity across the board does, it's out of love. It's out of the name of love. Whether it's for love of self, whether it's for love of others, love of the world, love of God, everything. People work their whole lives to make money because they love money. It's not because they actually love money. It's because they love things. They want to be able to buy things. People serve other people because they love them. People serve themselves because they love themselves. Love permeates our very being. It's the one thing that makes no sense to the human mind, but makes complete sense to the human heart. There are so many things that we've justified logically with science, reasoning, history, and philosophy, but the one thing that trumps all of it is love. It's the one thing that no writer can find true potence in their works to display the weight of. It's the one thing that seems to withstand time like nothing else. It's love. If love didn't exist, then we would have all murdered each other 5,000 years ago. Why is it that we've strived for a society of peace? And obviously there have been people who have tried to dictate and come against this ideology of love, but once again, it's because they don't know their purpose of loving each other, because all they can see is love of self. Your purpose is love, and it's a heavy weight to acknowledge. And maybe we'll get to the end of this video and go back to the way that you were living. You'll go back to your lifestyle of deceiving yourself and blinding yourself from truth. But I share this because I think that this is world changing, that you actually have cognitive knowledge of why you are here now. And it's because you were made for love. An eternal love, a love that didn't start when the earth started, a love that does not end when the earth ends, but a love that created the earth, a love that created the universe, a love that created your eyes, a love that created your beating heart. This, friend, is what you're made for. This is what you're put on this earth for. No other reasoning can justify why we're here. It just says that we're a bunch of random atoms put together chemically. It just portrays that we are here to die. But love shows us that there's something greater than us. And that's why it's so hard for us as a society. That's why it's been so hard for so many philosophers to understand what purpose is because purpose has to be outside of ourselves. It has to be greater than us. But everything that we've been taught, everything that we do, primarily everything we do is to blind us from this truth. It's not an easy weight to carry, knowing that you were actually made for more, that you were actually made not to be blind. Someone who thinks they're free but is in slavery will work harder than any slave who knows he's a slave will ever work. And so I want you to know that you were made to be free for eternity. You were made for more. You were made for love. And it's something that is greater than this world could ever offer, because this world and your body will fade. It all perish. I don't know how much time you have on this earth. I have friends that died when I was 9 years old. They were 9 years old. I've had over 20 people die of suicide in my life. I don't know when you will die, but I know that you have a purpose. And today is the day that you truly seek it. I believe that God is love, and that love is the one thing that makes sense to every human heart, even when it doesn't make sense to the human mind. Because it's written in our hearts. It's what has made the moral code within us. It's why we don't do certain things and why we do other things. And so, friend, you were made for love. I urge you to ask yourself what your purpose is, and see as everything that you write down, whether for me it's becoming a full-time author, or reaching 100K on YouTube, or buying an apartment complex for homeless people, all of that will fade one day. But the one thing that won't is love. And so if I do anything outside of love, then it doesn't matter. If I do anything for myself, my temporary self, it doesn't matter. Your purpose is love. Our purpose is love. It's what we were always made for. You were made for love.